Hi, I'm Jeff Sasagawa, Director of Products at SlingStudio. I'd like to thank you for joining our second episode of SlingCast. I'd like to welcome our customers as well as welcome those that are new to SlingStudio. Today's theme for SlingCast is on sports. We know that many of you are live streaming baseball, soccer, football games, but what we're excited about at SlingStudio is that there are several other use cases that are emerging, that are growing, that are really making a significant impact on the industry. And many of you are using SlingStudio. So we'll talk about those use cases today. We'll talk about some other topics surrounding sports. So a couple of announcements in terms of what we've been doing at SlingStudio. Recently, we were at NAB, which was a couple of weeks ago, in Vegas, in the South Hall on the second floor, and we had our first booth at NAB, where we had, from the start to the finish, we had a jam-packed booth filled with folks watching the demo. Sometimes it was about 5 deep of folks watching the demo. We had our customers dropping by, telling us about new experiences. We had some newcomers to SlingStudio, and we were able to show them the demo for the first time. It was very rewarding, very gratifying to see, the smile on their face, looking at the new features that we've enabled with SlingStudio. We also participated in a few panels, a few live shows with some partners. So all in all, NAB was a huge success for SlingStudio. I'd like to go through a few housekeeping items for this webinar today. Like we did last time, and like you did last time, provide feedback after the SlingCast. Give us your views of how the event went, some topics that you'd like to see next time. Just continuing to give us feedback is a great value add for us. Also, we are using SlingStudio once again. To live stream the SlingCast. We're using our conference room. Last time we joked around that this was our Studio A. Just a great example, though. It allows you to turn any room, any venue into a studio. Also, we've been updating our website, so please check it out if you haven't seen it for a while. We've added new video tutorials. We've added different knowledge-based articles, customer videos, so a lot of new things. So please visit our website. And lastly, we know that there are several of you that are new to SlingStudio. So we're going to cover in this session today a few new topics. We're going to show some basic overview of the product. We'll show some of the basic features. So those that are already familiar with that, just be patient. We're going to make sure that everyone that's viewing is up to the same level understanding of SlingStudio. So with that, let's look at the agenda for today. We have an hour-long session. We're going to talk about the product overview. We're going to talk about the use cases, as I mentioned, for sports. We're going to give a product demo. We're even going to show a sneak peek at some new features that we will be releasing in the near future. We have a guest speaker. We have Bobby Chastain, who is the Executive Director at KMVT. He will be joining us as a guest speaker. And he's been using the product. Bobby and his crew have been using the product since the beginning of SlingStudio, as an initial beta tester, as an initial customer. So we'll get some great insight from Bobby and his team. And then we'll talk about some tips and tricks related to sports and follow up with a Q&A. So let's get going here. So first, SlingStudio is part of Dish Network. Sling Media is the inventor of the Sling Box, and we've been using Sling Box technology to allow customers for over a decade to live stream high-def video across the wireless networks, across the internet, to virtually any device. And we've used that technology within SlingStudio to make it that robust wireless solution. So let's give a quick overview of the product. The product, SlingStudio, as I'm showing here, this is the SlingStudio hub, as we call it, attached to the battery, optional battery pack. You can see it in the middle of this diagram. As we say, it is really an all-in-one solution. It is the industry first portable and wireless switcher. It's also a recorder, a monitoring system, it's audio mixer, and even a wireless access point. As the wireless access point, it allows you to connect to virtually any camera using this device called the Camera Link. And this Camera Link you can attach to a camcorder, to a DSLR, to a action cam, to a PC, to a drone, virtually any device, any video source. And you can take that device 300 feet with the camera, 300 feet away without cables, wireless, and have the cameras, have the video source 300 feet away, and you can also have up to 10 devices connected wirelessly. So it gives you that unique feature of having all the cameras untethered. For storing, you can store virtually any type of video content using the SD card, using a USB 3.0 drive. And then for doing the switching you can use either a Mac, which we just recently introduced, as well as an iPad. It allows you to switch, and we'll give a demonstration of that as well. And then to stream, live stream, you can stream to not only Facebook and YouTube, but virtually any service using our custom RTMP. And last but not least, we have the add-on features. We've partnered with Apple, we've partnered with Adobe to allow you to easily import all of the files that you recorded on the SlingStudio. That's the program as well as the ISOs, and you can easily import them into those software editing suites and have everything aligned, change out the graphics, transitions, swap out different camera views, and you can do that and save hours upon hours of preparing, instead of preparing for that, using the SlingStudio extensions. And you can even use it to create a 4K live-to-tape recording. So that's a quick overview. Up next, we have the use cases. We all know that SlingStudio, because of the features I talked about, allow you to use it for house of worship, for corporate functions, for company meetings, for distance learning, for concerts, etc. It's virtually unlimited in terms of the applications. But the one application that we're here to talk about today is sports, and it allows you to have several different use cases, and we'll go through each one of those. Sports is really a perfect match for SlingStudio because it allows you to take advantage of, again, the wireless and the portability, because in many of the venues for sports, especially for live broadcasting, which are our first use case, it allows you to place the cameras anywhere. You can set the cameras up in the press box, all four corners of the end zone, behind the goal, in center field. You can do that without spending hours and hours of setting up, as well as tear down. So great value, and it also allows you to place them anywhere and then have a roving cameraman. And it's a very powerful feature to allow the cameraman person to walk the sidelines on a football game, to capture the athlete coming off the field, celebrating with their teammates on the sidelines, watching the coaches during a timeout, talking to their players, capturing the cheerleaders, capturing a variety of different things that are happening on the sideline. So that has allowed folks to have different experiences. We also have instant replay, and in instant replay you can allow the commentators to talk about what just happened, to look at video highlights. We also have social, the integration of the social networking. So it's not just watching the game, and it's not just posting, but it's interacting with the different fans. And like last time when Adam Frick was our guest speaker, he talked about it's almost like a reunion in the case of covering high school sports. It's folks within, throughout the U.S. and throughout the globe chiming in and commenting and having kind of a mini reunion. So live sports allows you to do that, plus monetization opportunities because of the graphics. The next use case is part of this, the emerging use cases, is the social, the fan engagement, where you allow the producers and directors that aren't streaming the game, but they're live streaming the behind the scenes. They're live streaming the media days, or live streaming the coaches' interviews and the players' practices, that really give the insight to what is happening behind the scenes and giving a professional look to the production, where it's not just one camera, it's not just a smartphone, it's using professional cameras. For example, we talked about last time, Clemson is using it for their media day, and they have multiple stations, and so they can cover each different interview station of a player with the multiple cameras and the wireless, and they can use their camcorders, which allows them to keep their brand, their brand equity, and meet their standards for that, as well as USTA. We work with them at the Fed Cup, and typical in social engagements where there are different events going on, and you need to be able to set up and tear down within minutes, because the next event might be downstairs, it might be across town. The players might come off of their practice and be ready for interviews. So it allows you to cover the events and also make sure you can cover all the different activities that are going on. So that is the social part. The next use case is in terms of this, it's in the coaches area, the sports performance, where you now have the ability to use multi-cameras for giving lessons, for one-on-one, one-on-two types of environments, using the iPad because it's very nimble, to be able to give the athlete and the coach to have access to this multi-camera studio anywhere, whether it's on the golf range, whether it is at the batting cage, whether it is at a diving event or a BMX bike race. It allows the coach to have a more effective tool to give all the different angles and be able to set it up easily. In addition to the private lessons, there's this game practice where you have the entire team. And with the entire team, sometimes the iPad, sometimes the Mac is not sufficient to be able to show the videos, because you want to show the different types of drills they're doing. And so with HDMI out of the SlingStudio, you can connect it to a large display shown in this diagram here, where you can show the players, you can show the team, the different strategies, different positions, use instant replay to play it back, be able to situate the cameras in new places where you haven't been able to. For example, for volleyball, with the wireless access, you can place the camera, whether it's a phone or an action cam, on the net, and you have that net cam for the first time. And so it really gives an additional teaching tool. And you can even have multiple drills going on, 2 or 3 different locations. So you can have the cameras, because they're wireless, you can move them anywhere. You can have up to 10 of them covering 2 different locations, 3 different locations in the gym. So a very powerful tool to be able to work with the athletes for game sports performance. The next one is the integration of the app, and to be able to take advantage of all the different analytics that are now happening in the sports, where if you look at the athletes, what they're doing today, they're spending almost year-round practicing the same sport. And now with the analytics that are available, and even biometrics, that information is now is a very powerful tool for coaching. Now, when you marry that with the multi-camera and it's all in sync, for example, as you can see here in the diagram, we have a quad view, 3 different views of a golfer and the angles, plus the analytics. So when the golfer swings, all the information about the launch angle, the spin speed of the ball, whether you're open or closed, you can see visually how the body moved, whether the hips were open or not, and you can now bridge that information of the analytics with the video multi-camera analysis and have a much more powerful tool for coaching. So we're excited about this. A lot of our coaches are very excited about that, not only in golf, but in baseball and other sports, taking advantage of this multi-camera. And next, we have some emerging types of sport applications. The first one is for referees, because instant replay for referees is moving down from professional sports. It's moving down to college level and to other different club teams. Today, the referee instant replay systems are quite sophisticated, quite expensive, and so a lot of folks are looking at our solution, SlingStudio, to help cover the different lines, the 4 different lines on the court to make sure the ball is in, be able to make the certain call, whether it's basketball or soccer, and using it for a way to not only broadcast, not only coach, but also for referee instant replay. So we're continuing to work with teams and organizations in that area. And then esports. Esports by definition requires multi-cameras. It can't be just 1 or 2 cameras. It has to be camera on team A, camera on team B, wide shot, commentators, audience, the graphics of the game. You need to have multiple cameras, and guess what? With SlingStudio, it just makes it that much easier. So our customers and even our coverage of events, we see it as a nice match for esports. So next up, those are the use cases. Next, I'm going to show you some demos. We're going to give you a quick overview of some basic demos, and I'm going to use the iPad over here. So we'll move to this camera. And you can see, here's the iPad. You have 4 different camera views or video sources. You have the preview and the program here. You're able to set up a project by tapping here. And I just want to show you the project setting because it highlights, you can set the bit rate, you can set the production quality, 720p up to 1080p 60, but you can also set the recording. So it's not just the program you're going to record, you can also record the 4 ISO, the 4 camera inputs simultaneously, and the audio and a quad view. So at the end of the production, you have all 7 files available for the add-ons that we offer with the Premiere Pro and Final Cut. So record all, not just one or the other. And then you can just save that. You're back ready to do some more setup. You have the audio mixer available so you can see all the camera mics, as well as if you had an audio mixer connected to the box or to the camera, you can set those and be able to see the different metering levels. And then you can also add the cameras, as we talked about, because you can connect up to 10 cameras. We have 4 live here that are shown here. You can just swap them out. You can just grab one of the additional cameras and then just move them in and swap them just like that. And then you can take that same camera and move it back in just by simply dragging. We also have the video imports where you can queue up multiple videos. Right now we have one already playing here on the bottom. We can take another video clip and move that in here. And now you have 2 video clips, so you can queue them up 2, 3, as many as you wish. And then, or you can just pull back that camera that we had and pull it back into the camera view. So you have ability to add the videos. You also can add graphics by simply tapping here, tap here, and with the graphic you can move it around, you can pin it so it's always available, and be able to bring it down, pin it, and be able to have it in the program. You can also do compositions. So for compositions, you can do split screen, you can do quad view that we had shown. You have quad view. You can add different cameras into that by simply just dragging them in and then saving it so that it's available next time. So when you're switching, let's say you're switching here, you can just call that back up, that quad view, and it's available for your program. We have some lower thirds, some simple lower thirds for names and title, as well as some basic scoreboards. Like you see here, where you can change the names, but you can just simply tap and then bring that down for scoring. So you can see the different scores there. You can be able to have a simple scoreboard. And then in addition to that, as you expect, we have replay. And so let me just remove this here. We have instant replay where you can simply set the replay settings here. You can set the duration from 1 second to 60 seconds. You can do the replay. You can set that at half speed, quarter speed. Let's just set it at half speed for now. And we're ready to go. And so let's just press replay. And so, oops, I need to be recording. So when you press the replay here, while you're recording, you're watching the play, and you want to be able to do the replay, all you need to do is press replay. It jumps back. And now it's doing replay in half speed. And if you want, you can always exit out of that replay. And the last feature I want to show you before we go on to some of these new features is the HDMI out. So With HDMI out, you can still do the switching that I showed you here, being able to record and live stream, but you can also do the HDMI out. And so with HDMI out, like we showed in the coaching for the team practice, you want to be able to connect it to a monitor. And you can connect it to the monitor and independently set the output, whether it's a program view or a pass-through or quad view, and do that and connect it to an HDMI display without affecting the live stream that you are doing with the switcher. So that's a quick overview of the SlingStudio Basic. I'm now going to bring in Pratik Bansal, who is our lead SlingStudio product manager, and he is going to give you a sneak peek at some new features that we have here. And so,
thank you, Jeff.
Take it away, Pratik.
Okay, guys. So what I'm going to talk about are two new features that we'll be releasing on both the Mac console and the iPad console shortly. These two new features were the result of a lot of the feedback that we received. So thank you again for providing your feedback. So the first feature, actually before we talk about the feature, I just wanted to quickly explain the setup I have. I'm just running a SlingStudio console on the Mac, so I will be demoing these features on the Mac. And this Mac is acting as another source to this whole live production, and we are streaming it using the camera link device. So that's what you see. I have a Thunderbolt to HDMI connector going into the camera to make this MacBook as a source to this live production. So with that, let me go ahead and open the SlingStudio console on the Mac. And you can see this is, we effectively switched from the iPad console to the Mac console. And so we have the same camera sources over here. And now the first feature we are going to talk about is the scoreboard. I know people have been asking about, better scoreboards. And Jeff showed you the basic scoreboard earlier today. And what this new feature is going to bring is to allow customization of your scoreboards. And so in order to do that, what you can do is you can go ahead and create new custom scoreboard. And in order to create a new custom scoreboard, you can bring in your own background graphic image for the scoreboard lower third, which has your team colors or team logos. And so over here, I'm going to pick a simple, say, a background graphic, which you can see it's just like as an example where the home and away, think about as team logos. And then I can pull up a home team name. So over here, say I can write San Francisco. I can change the font size. I can go ahead and change the color. And then I can move it over here. Now, next is I can go ahead and put in the team score. Again, I will go ahead and change the color over here to black, and then the same thing I can do with the away team. So over here, again, you can see I have option to change the color, the font type, and so forth. And so I can go ahead and move this over here, and then I can have the away team score. So you can see the same thing I'm doing, repeating over here. And then I can also bring in parade or innings or the quarter over here, since we are seeing a football game. Now, for baseball specifically, we also have other scoreboard elements that you can bring in, like the top and bottom innings, the outs, balls, and strikes. So it would be similar to how we pull in this different scoreboard. So the other scoreboard elements. So I can go ahead and now save this as a scoreboard element template, and now I can pull this in and then go ahead and push preview to program. So you can see, let me go ahead and remove this older basic scoreboard. And now, in order to go ahead and change the score, you can see there's a control panel that comes up in a dock mode on top. There's also option to undock it and make it available separately. And with that, you can go ahead and change the scores. For example, over here. Now, these are not applying to program right now. So if you have to apply this scores elements to program, you just click on the bottom, and then they will start applying to the program, the changes. So you can see over here, the scores are changing, and then the same thing. If I change the quarter, you can see that is changing as well. So that's the scoreboard customization. So now you just need to create your own background image using any graphic editor tool that you are using, whether it be Photoshop or others, and then just have your own team colors and the team logos on that, and then you can just overlay the scoreboard macro elements on top and be able to use it for your live production. So that's the first one. The second one, second feature, let me go ahead and, so the second feature we got a lot of feedback was in terms of creating highlight packages. So think about right now, Jeff just talked about the replay. So if you have done a lot of replays in your live production, you want to create a highlight packages of all the replays, for example, right? So let me go ahead and show you how this highlight clips could be created. So one is, anytime you hit a replay, there will be a highlight clip created based on the programmable duration you set for the replay settings. There are two other ways I'm going to show you. So first is, let me go, so for example, I'm just clicking on the replay over here. You can see it's a 15-second replay. It is going to create a highlight clip with this. So I'm going to just exit this replay. The next way you can create a highlight clip is using a tag in and a tag out option. So you first create a tag in. So all this tags will be created on the program video. So I created this tag in followed by a tag out. And so that will create a highlight clip with that. So let me pull in another video over here. And then the third option is where I can do just a tag out only option, which again, where you can define the duration going back. So think about if you had a touchdown, right? If you can go and say a tag out, at that point it will go and take the last 8 seconds, 10 seconds of for this highlight clip. And again, that is a setting that is programmable that you can bring in, you can change. So with that, I will go ahead and stop the recording. Now, you want to review all these highlight clips. So the way you do it is you go to the highlight editor. And over here, you can see there are 4 different clips. So the first clip was what when Jeff did the replay, he created one replay clip. The second one was the one that I did. And then the third one is the tag in followed by the tag out. And the fourth one is the tag out only, right? So you can see the replay tags have their tag names, associated replays over here. And then I can go ahead and review all these clips over here. I can change the mark in and mark out points if you need it. And with that, I can type in the tag name if you want. And then now at the end, if I want to create a highlight clip which combines all of this thing, then you just select all the clips and say create highlight and say highlight all clips, and then you create it, and at the end there will be a highlight clip created with all the different 4 different clips that we saw over here. So that talks about the highlight feature. This again feature will be available for both iPad and Mac. You can use this feature to bring in your create highlight clips during halftime, and then bring in a highlight clip into your into your live production right after the halftime, or you can use it for your clients. At the end of your live production, you can create a quick highlight package and provide it to them right there, right? Whether it be for a wedding event or a music concert event, and deliver it right at the end of your live production. So if you have any, we will be reaching out to you very soon about this feature, especially some of our beta users, and we're looking for your feedback on these two features, and then the plan is to make a public release with these two features on both iPad and Mac in the coming weeks. Thank you. With that, I will hand it over back to Jeff.
Thanks, Pratik. I love the tagging. It really is applicable not only for sports, like Pratik said, to be able to do the video highlights afterwards for the next game. It allows you, to use it for many different applications, not just sports. You can use it, as you can imagine, for different seminars, for different coaching, for distance learning. So tagging is a great feature that we're looking forward to releasing soon. So next up, we have our guest speaker. As I mentioned, his name is Bobby Chastain, Executive Director of KMVT. He's been using our product since day one. And what we're going to do, though, is show a few video clips of some highlights of how Bobby's been using this and his crew. So we'll go to the video clips, and after that, we'll come back and we'll talk to Bobby.
That's a good eye. And a solid hit between the center and right fielders. And she's going to go for two. It goes to the fence, and she's rounding. She's going for third. Here comes the throw. Relay. She's going all the way home. And a good strike, but it's too late. Home run.
Vikings retain possession. Emma Rosen taking a spill. And Palo Alto with a shot over the head of the Los Altos goalkeeper. Picks up their 5th score.
Down falls, ultimately collected by Mountain View. Long outlet pass from Resnick to Eugene Liao, who gets his 2 points.
So welcome back, everyone. Again, we're here with Bobby Chastain, Executive Director at KMVT. Bobby, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here in Studio A.
In Studio A, yes, our fancy brand new Studio A. So if you could give the audience a little background about KMVT as well as yourself.
Sure. So KMVT is a community TV station. It means that we're very open forum. We take people who are essentially hobbyists or want to learn about TV. They have an idea for a show, and they come in and we teach them. We have workshops in our studio and our remote equipment, teach them how to put together a program. So it's all volunteer-based. We have a very small staff that does the teaching, and then also for productions, we do a lot of off-site EFP-style productions like high school sports. So we usually will have one staff person that works with a volunteer crew to cover these sort of events. Personally, I'm in my 3rd year as executive director. I came up through productions and operations, so I have, I would say a fair amount of experience covering these events and directing live broadcasts.
Great. And so I recall, as I mentioned, you're one of the first testers, one of the first customers, and I recall going out to an event with KMVT, and you were also the first crew to take a camera and place it in center field of the local high school, behind the fence, under the scoreboard. So that was a very cool experience to see the video, and also the fans to be able to see that. So if you could just give us some of the insights and talk about how you started off with SlingStudio, how it's adapted, how you adapted into your workflow, and where you are today with SlingStudio.
Yeah, I mean, we were lucky that you guys found us. So when we started beta testing, we kind of dipped our toe in. I mean, so remember, we're usually using a big production truck to do these things. So this is a 1981 step van. We are a nonprofit station. But the gear inside was very nice. So we cover about 70 sporting events a year and with our local high schools. So, it's very, very onerous to roll out the cable, set up the cameras. I mean, it takes minimum 2 hours and probably closer to 3 for most of these. So we were really eager to try Sling. I think the camera link especially was something we were interested in. So when we started using it, like I said, we're kind of, there's a learning curve for anything, so we kind of dipped our toe in. isolate each camera and do the live switch. You know how onerous it is also to do just a multi-camera edit after the fact. So we were using it mostly for that. And then as you've added features, we've incorporated them. So now we do the roll-ins that we use for the open and for our sponsor acknowledgements, and the credits or the graphics that are included as well. So now we have basically from live to tape, done and done with production each time. The center field camera was exciting for us because I mentioned those cables. Those are hundreds of meters, right? To go from where we park the truck all the way to center field is just, sometimes we don't have enough cable. So to go cableless now, I mean, we're going from hundreds of pounds. It's like a torture device to roll them up, to literally just going through the air was a key feature for us.
And I love how when I've talked to your crew, they said, before, like you said, they would take a truck out, do a truck roll to the event, and now they're just putting the cameras in their car and the equipment in the backpack and taking it, just in their own car, and they can just they can cover more events, they've said, and they can do some other types of sports beyond just the major ones.
That's right, and we still have the truck, so we can do multiple events at the same time now. And then, yeah, really, there were just venues that we couldn't get the truck into. I mean, it was just sort of, we had to punt on them, We'd shoot high school games, like the CCS finals at Santa Clara at the Levy Center, and it's just we didn't have enough cable. There wasn't a place for our truck. If we ran generator, it was obnoxious to the passersby. So now there's no limit as to where we can set up, and we can do it just so much more quickly.
Great. So thank you. That's for giving us your insights on how you've used SlingStudio within the sporting use cases as well as others. So thank you. Thanks a lot.
You bet.
Thanks, Mark. So next up, we have our tips and tricks. And so, we're going to stay with the theme of sports and some of the challenges that folks have and that I've also experienced at sporting events, because like we've said, many times the venue, the stadium, doesn't have the internet access. There's no Ethernet. And many times baseball games, they don't have the press box, and they're typically a little bit further away from the field. So what we've been testing are different devices, and the one device that we mentioned that during our last episode, we talked about bonded modems. And bonded modems are a great tool to allow you to stream anywhere. You don't need to have that public Wi-Fi. You don't need to have that Ethernet connection. You can stand up a studio production virtually anywhere. And so what we've done because of that, we've partnered with a company called LiveView, and they have this product called LiveView Solo. It's a great bonded modem solution that's very affordable, under $1,000. It allows you to connect this to our existing SlingStudio. And you'll see in the diagram where you take simply the HDMI out of the SlingStudio and connect it into this directly. And from here, you can stream to virtually any service, and you can do it anywhere. So it brings tremendous value to the user. And because of that, we've actually partnered with them to offer a bundled solution. And this bundled solution is a limited offer. As you'll see in this slide here, it is a bundle of the SlingStudio with the battery pack, with a camera link, as well as with the USB-C and a backpack, as well as this LiveView Solo. And so we're offering it up until May 26th. The information will be available via the email as shown in below. Just send an email to that and you'll get the information. So it's a great deal. It's $245 discount, amazing deal. And perhaps even the better part of that is that you can now fit everything in your backpack, including this, and not only have a studio that you can set up anywhere with our equipment with the SlingStudio, but you can also stream anywhere. So a great value, a great product, a great bundle. That is the first device. The next devices we want to talk about are kind of a sneak peek of these devices. We've been testing it at different sporting events, and we found it very helpful. And so we're going to give you a sneak peek of these devices and some of these tips. We're going to release the information when we do the software release with the tagging that Pratik showed, as well as with the custom scoreboard. So that information will be available, the manufacturers and the model numbers, but I just wanted to show you a few things. So just like with the live view bonded modem, there are challenges to get internet access, and sometimes schools or organizations don't have the option to have a bonded modem. So another option for that is a device that has two pieces. It has a transmitter and a receiver. So let's say you're at a school and you want to be able to stream to the stadium, to the baseball stadium, but you don't have that Wi-Fi, you don't have the internet just like we described, but you do have a classroom or a building nearby, and we'll show you in a diagram here the example. So on the bottom portion you can see kind of a map of a generic high school. To the left, bottom left, you can see some of the buildings where you have internet access. And so with internet access and a fairly clear line of sight, you can connect the transmitter, connect one of these devices here, the one dish, directly to the Ethernet connection in that building. It can go through Windows, it can go through different types of obstructions, but best is line of sight, and be able to now have the receiver connected to the SlingStudio via Ethernet cable to the USB-C adapter. And it works. We've tested it over 1,000 feet, sometimes 2,000 feet. So it gives you the ability to use it for streaming internet to the device. And we've seen experiences where they even more than 2,000 feet. So it's a great tool. It's under $200. It allows, in some cases, folks to have internet access for their games. So another set of products that are helpful for streaming at events, in games and sometimes soccer tournaments, the event is more than just one game. It's a whole tournament that lasts all day, and so sometimes you don't have access to a power connection, so you need to have batteries. And so if you need more than 3.5 hours and you want to do, if it's a 6-hour or 8-hour shoot, we've been testing these portable power supplies that allow you to connect your AC adapter from the SlingStudio into these directly. They each have connections, and you can connect the other devices that we talked about as well, because it has an AC connection. It actually has two of them, and it even has USB port, so you can charge your camera links, you can charge your external batteries, and a variety of different things. So very, very useful, and under $200, well under $200 as well. Now, in the sports, typically you have multiple cameras, and you have the cameramen are not next to you. They're not just in the press box. They're over behind the goal. They're in center field. You need to be able to communicate to them. Yes, some crews have professional wireless intercoms. Some don't. We've been testing some simple walkie-talkies that are a very affordable price that work well with SlingStudio. And a lot of you folks have been asking about apps that you would use on your own phones. And so we've been testing a couple apps, and we've narrowed it down to one that works well. And again, we'll be providing this information at the next software release. That it's an app that allows you to connect directly to the SlingStudio, the access point. And all you need is internet access. Well, by definition, if you're streaming a live game, you have internet access. So it works nicely, and it gives the director, it gives the camera operators the information and the experience that they need. In addition to that, as we showed in some of the coaching and sports performance images, we showed the net cam, we showed in the driving range the view of a camera from above. What we found is these clip tripods that allow you to clip it anywhere, whether it's a phone or an action cam with a camera link. It gives you the versatility to really place the cameras anywhere you want. And so this is a useful tool. Many manufacturers offer it, but I just want to highlight that having the clip is a nice tool. And again, as a reminder, it's best practice to have the SlingStudio on top of a tripod to ensure that you have an opportunity for the best video production. So those are the tips and tricks. We're now going to move over to the Q&A section. And so I'll have Pratik Bansal come back to the front here, and he will answer the questions as we called him last time, Mr. Answer Man. So I'm going to hand it off to Pratik with a set of questions.
Thanks, Jeff. Okay, thanks guys for sending in your comments to the Facebook Live. We also got a lot of our comments during our announcement post for the SlingCast. So I'm going to try to do my best to answer as many of them as possible. So I know there are quite a few of you, David, Chris, Michael, Carlos, talked about adding better scoreboards. So I just talked about the new custom scoreboard feature just a few minutes back that should hopefully help you out with getting your own better looking scoreboards. The second piece was in terms of adding timers to the scoreboard. So currently the new feature that we are adding does not support the timer as a scoreboard element, but you can bring in the timer using a fourth camera, pointing towards a live scoreboard, and then bring in as a PIP, picture-in-picture, in your live production. Peter asked about can you add ability to remotely control exposure and focus of cameras and iPhone? So yes, currently we don't have this feature, and really appreciate your feedback. We will be investigating this. Because there are a lot of people who have asked about the Capture app. So we have updated our knowledge base article for the Capture app. One of the features that people when finding hard to find was the locking of the exposure and the focus. So there's an exposure and focus lock available. And this is, if you search in our knowledge base on the Capture app, you will find the details on how you go about doing it. But we'll definitely will be looking at remotely controlling the exposure and focus. The other, John, David asked about when will you have transparent animated graphics, and there are other comments about alpha and chroma key features. Again, we are looking into these features. What would help us is to get more feedback from you on how you want to use it, and so that would help us in prioritization in terms of what the next features we bring to the SlingStudio. The other question was Jesse talked about. Question was any updates on creating crossfades between PNGs or graphics? So yes, currently today we primarily support just the cut transition. So this is one of the features that have been requested, and we are investigating this. Again, please keep the feedback coming through our SlingStudio feature request form that's available on the SlingStudio user group, and that would help us in prioritizing this next set of features. Dan A talked about, is there a lag time for HDMI pass-through? So no, there is no lag time. It directly passes through the whatever is the video you're bringing in through the direct HDMI input on the SlingStudio hub. So with that, that one camera would have zero lag. Now, if you are looking at any other wireless cameras or smartphones, then that won't work with the HDMI pass-through mode. It will only work with the direct HDMI input. Nick requested about sorting the graphics in the live production. So again, we'll like to hear more about this. Again, please fill out the feature request form. That would help us in prioritizing this. So next one was Anthony asking about what happens if the two SlingStudios are next to each other. So again, SlingStudio uses some custom DFLs channels, which you don't see, so don't see with most of the consumer routers. That allows it to go much longer range and and be able to support live productions up to 300 feet away. Now, when you have two SlingStudio hubs, there are actually multiple channels. Actually, there are up to 4 DFS channels that the hub can use. And so even if you bring 2 or 3 SlingStudio hubs, all of them will link to different DFS channel, ensuring that you have mostly interference-free environment to do your live production. Other question was some of the previous question we had was, can you do screen mirroring to allow for scoreboards or timers? So again, this was asked by Robert. I don't, if you are talking about screen mirroring just with a laptop, so you saw in a previous, when I was showing the demo, we were just using a camera link to show the screen of my MacBook. So you can use a direct HDMI input to the SlingStudio hub or a camera link to bring in your laptop screen and share that. If you want to do the same with an iPad or any of the smart devices, then you can have a Lightning to an HDMI connector and do the same using, again, the camera link or direct HDMI input. Next one was Christopher asked about, can we have a mixed frame rates? Would like to do 60 FPS for slow motion playback. Again, SlingStudio does support 5 different production mode at 720p and 1080p, and at both 30 frames and 60 frames per second. So you can definitely do the production at both 30 and 60. In addition, you can bring in multiple different types of sources at different frame rate, and the SlingStudio production will take care of all the frame conversion or the resolution conversion and create a production at a defined production mode that you choose during the project settings. The other question is, how do you recommend I connect to school Wi-Fi? So I know if you look at SlingStudio has 2 networks. One is the hotspot network, which is an access point network that all the cameras and the smartphones connects to, and then there's a second network which allows you to connect to the internet connection. And that internet connection network supports actually WPA different security modes like WPA2, personal, WEP. It currently does not support the WPA enterprise mode. So if you're one of the things to ensure with your school IT system, just check if they are using WPA enterprise or not. If they are not using a WPA enterprise, it should most likely connect. But if they are using WPA enterprise, I think a lot of their IT teams should be able to help you by using techniques like MAC filtering and so forth to allow connecting the SlingStudio hub to your school network. So this is another. We have the MAC ID of the SlingStudio hub is available in the settings about section on the console app, and so you can use that MAC ID information to provide to your IT team and be able to ensure that the SlingStudio can connect to school Wi-Fi. I had a few more questions come in. Can I turn off AFV? So again, on an audio mixer, there are few different options. There are actually 3. So AFV is by default, audio follows video. So that ensures that the audio of the source is going to be on the program if that video is on the program. There are 2 other options in addition to this. One is you can switch off the audio from that particular source to on the program. So there's a speaker icon. So if you click on it, it will mute the audio from that particular source. The other option, if you want to have that audio from that source always on, always available on the program. So for example, if you're bringing in an external audio mixer board, audio into the production and you want to have it always on, then there's an on setting that if you click on it, that will ensure that audio from that particular source is always available on the program. Next question comes up is, can I stream to multiple platforms like Facebook and YouTube? So we have a knowledge base article on this, especially on how to, there are a couple of different options on how you can stream to multiple platforms. One is using some external services like Restream.io that will allow you where you can send a single RTMP stream from SlingStudio Hub to the Restream.io, and then Restream.io can send it out to multiple CDNs, Facebook, YouTube. There are multiple other CDN networks that it can support. The second option is if you are just looking at just supporting two platforms, there's one is use SlingStudio Hub live broadcasting feature to stream to one platform, and then the second, you can take an HDMI output feed from the SlingStudio and send it to a laptop PC running systems like OBS or Wirecast, and that could be used to stream to another network. So the next question is, how does 4K work? So yeah, this is if you look at all the live production on SlingStudio happens at 1080p 60 or lower resolution. Now, if you are bringing in your 4K recordings, now SlingStudio provides this plugins for Adobe Premiere and Final Cut Pro that would allow you to synchronize your native 4K camera recordings with the SlingStudio Full HD recordings and be able to create a quick 4K production in post for your archival purposes. So again, do look at our SlingStudio plugins. They are available for both Adobe Premiere and Final Cut Pro. That could allow you to bring in your 4K recordings into this production mix. I think there was some other questions. One was multi-angle replay. So again, currently today we support program replay. We are looking into this feature as well. Do note right now with the highlight clip, you can now create a highlight package of all the replay pretty quickly. You can also bring in your ISO recordings as a video clip into your live production and use it for the replay. Well, I think I'm running out of time. So with that, please keep the questions coming back, and we'll make sure we'll respond to you on the post. And with that, I will hand it over back to Jeff here. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Pratik. As usual, great answers, great information for the viewers. So the hour's up. It was fun to have another SlingCast here, episode 2. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today. I'd like to also give a special thanks to Bobby Chastain as our guest speaker, and also to our partners that have helped us as we've moved forward with SlingStudio, especially live view. So thank you for that. To those partners. And so in closing, just a couple of reminders. Look for our upcoming release of the features that Pratik had showed today, as well as some of the partner products. Fill out the survey. Give us your feedback on what you would like to see next. And speaking of what is next, I urge you to stay tuned for our next episode 3. It will be on post-production, and I will guarantee you that you will not want to miss this one. So that's it. Thanks again. Signing off. This is Jeff Sasagawa. Thanks.